Hey, and welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm Jesus, founder of Vida Talent Solutions and the host of this channel. We are dedicated to helping startups and small business owners scale their teams and build exceptional recruiting processes. And so if you're building a business and realize hiring is way harder than it looks, then you're in the right place. So hit that subscribe button for weekly drops on recruiting, hiring strategy, and all things related to tech talent. Okay, so last video I mentioned I would drop some gems on how to build a hiring team that feels like an army of recruiting and HR operations folks. So let's talk about it. Most startups don't have a recruiting team. Some don't even have a recruiter. It's usually a founder, maybe an office manager, maybe someone in ops, or maybe a Google Doc named Hiring Plan Final 2.0. Sound familiar? See, hiring in most early stage teams looks like this. The founder or ops person posts a job on LinkedIn. They wait for 3 decent resumes, or they get 500 resumes in a matter of 30 minutes. Half of them end up being AI generated bots or AI generated resumes. You take a few of those resumes, interview a few dozen more, which has now burned an entire hole in your team's calendar, and you end up hiring someone because they didn't seem terrible on Zoom. Well, you then wonder, why did they quit after 3 months? Or worst case, you're repeating that same process for the next 3 to 6 months, only to end up losing the funding and not end up hiring anybody at all. Well, here's the truth. You don't need an army to build a high-performing recruiting function. What you need is a repeatable process, a clear path for roles and timing, and a way to consistently attract and vet the right people. So even if you're solo, you can create a system that makes recruiting feel less like a fire drill and more like a workflow. So how do you build a mini recruiting machine? Well, let's start with step 1. Get aligned on what's coming. I mentioned this in my last video. You can't hire well if you don't know what's next. So sit with your leadership team or your founding team and ask, what are the 3 to 5 most critical roles we'll need to fill in the next 6 months? What's the business goal behind it? That alone will stop a ton of reactive hiring. And number 2, map out your process. Even if you're solo, you can build a skeleton recruiting workflow. Think about things like, how are candidates being sourced? What tools are we using to find, attract, connect, and streamline applications? Who's doing the first round interviews? Do you have the number of steps carved out and consistent interviewers for each one of them? How are you assessing skills or values fit? Do you have a rubric that can help you objectively evaluate someone? And who's making the final call and the final decision? And lastly, do you all have the compliance and onboarding pieces in place to issue offer letters and conduct the onboarding? So think about things like documenting in Google Docs or Notion page. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just needs to be consistent. Now, step 3, build a talent bench. I mentioned this in my last video. Start tracking interesting people now, even if you're not hiring yet. Make a spreadsheet or an Airtable of people you'd love to work with. Now, if you have access to LinkedIn Recruiter or other similar tools, build out projects and buckets of talent you want to be ready to engage with when you start hiring. If you do the work little by little over time, it saves you the effort later. So also consider following them on LinkedIn. Engage with them now, plant some seeds, and remember to always prioritize employer branding. So whether that's going out to a conference, offering some thought leadership by joining podcasts and panels, or simply dropping the next hot AI video showcasing all the cool stuff your company does on either LinkedIn or some other social channel. And step 4, automate what you can. Use tools like Calendly for interview scheduling, MetaView or Fireflies for note-taking and note synthesis, ChatGPT for refining job posts or crafting outreach, and of course, our good old friend Google Forms or Airtable or Notion, or some other organizational tool that will help you intake basic applications. And if you can't afford it and have the funding, invest in recruiting and HR tools like applicant tracking systems such as GEM, Loxo, or Juicebox. Many of these also have sourcing capabilities already embedded in them. However, keep in mind that sometimes if you are using those tools, you may need someone dedicated that has the knowledge to source, outreach, and recruit effectively. But this will buy you back some time without needing too much headcount. So, real talk though, here's what many founders, I believe, sometimes get wrong. Too often, they treat recruiting like a chore until it becomes a crisis. But the best teams, they treat hiring like product development. They test, they iterate, and refine their process. And they understand that every single hire shapes their company. So, what can you take away from all of what I just said? If you're out here trying to hire without a recruiting army, I see you and I get you. And you can't do this if you build the systems before you need them. So start now and don't wait until you're in crisis mode to document your process, automate your workflows, and define your strategy. Be like the Spartans of the 300 and make a small team feel like a powerhouse. Now, if this video helped, drop a comment below. I want to hear from you. What's your biggest challenge in building a recruiting process from scratch? If you have found success, what have you done or what are you using to be successful? And also remember, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the next episode. Again, I'm Jesus from Vida Talent Solutions. Thanks for watching. Keep building smart and let's keep bringing our talent to life.